Greetings all, and welcome back to a new episode. I know many of you use these videos to help you sleep, so before we begin, I thought it would be fun for everyone to say hello and leave a comment letting me know where in the world you're tuning in from. Your engagement really makes this channel special. And hey, if you enjoy getting your nightly dose of thrills and chills with us, why not hit that subscribe button below? It's the best way to never miss out on the latest terrifying tales. So kick back, relax, and let's get started. The chlorine sting of the pool lingered on my skin as I shuffled out, towel wrapped tight around my shivering body. It was the last day of school, and unlike the usual jubilant chaos, a tense quiet hung over the locker room. My best friend, Sarah, was supposed to be waiting for me, but she was nowhere to be seen. An unsettling feeling gnawed at my gut. We had a plan. Ditch the post-swim awkwardness, grab ice cream at the corner store, and celebrate freedom from the shackles of 7th grade. But Sarah, usually the first one out, was missing. I checked the showers, the stalls, nothing. Finally, I peeked into the deserted hallway. Sarah? My voice echoed, bouncing off the cracked tiles. A bead of sweat trickled down my temple despite the chill. The school felt different that day. The usual fluorescent buzz replaced by an oppressive silence. I traced my steps back to the locker room, a growing suspicion twisting in my stomach. Had Sarah ditched me? It wasn't like her. Reaching for my phone, I felt a wave of panic. It wasn't in my pocket. Frantic, I emptied my backpack, the contents spilling onto the grimy floor. No phone. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't a prank. Suddenly, a voice, gruff and unfamiliar, called my name. A tall man stood at the far end of the hallway, his silhouette obscured by the fading light filtering through the grimy windows. Sarah's dad? I ventured, voice shaky. It's Mr. Davis, he corrected, taking a hesitant step closer. Sarah had a bit of a mishap. She slipped and hurt her ankle. I'm taking her to the hospital. Relief washed over me, momentarily erasing the unease. Oh, thank goodness. I was worried sick. Here, he said, extending a hand. Let me take your bag. It'll be easier with two of us. Something about his touch sent shivers down my spine. His grip was too tight, his eyes too shadowed. It's okay, I stammered, pulling back. I can carry it. He gave a humorless chuckle. Don't be silly, child. You're soaked. Come on, let's get you home. My phone. I needed my phone. But before I could voice my concern, he grabbed my wrist, his grip surprisingly strong. Panic surged. Hey, let go. I screamed, yanking my arm back. He didn't budge. There's no need to be difficult, is there? He spoke through gritted teeth, his face contorting into a grotesque mask. The hallway echoed with my screams as he dragged me down the deserted corridor. My backpack slipped off my shoulder, its contents scattering like confetti. We reached a side door I'd never seen before. It creaked open with a rusty groan, revealing a dark, dank staircase leading down. No, I won't go. I fought against him, tears stinging my eyes. Quiet down, he hissed, shoving me down the steps. The damp air clung to my throat as I stumbled down, each step plunging me deeper into a nightmare. The basement was a labyrinth of pipes and cobwebs, lit only by a single flickering bulb. A metallic tang filled the air, making my stomach churn. Where's Sarah? I choked out, hope dwindling with every passing second. He didn't answer. He shoved me into a dusty corner, his laughter echoing in the cavernous space. Terror clawed at my throat. I was trapped. Hours ticked by, measured only by the dripping of water somewhere in the darkness. Fear morphed into a desperate resolve. I had to get out. Spotting a loose brick in the wall, I started chipping away at the mortar with a jagged piece of metal I found amongst the debris. It was slow, agonizing work, but with every scrape, a sliver of hope flickered to life. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I pried the brick loose, revealing a sliver of light. With renewed vigor, I clawed at the mortar. expanding the hole until it was just large enough. Taking a deep breath, I squeezed through the opening, scraping my skin raw in the process. I emerged into a narrow alley, the familiar scent of honeysuckle from a nearby backyard filling my lungs. Freedom. Tears streamed down my face as I sprinted down the alley, the echoes of my frantic footsteps the only sound in the twilight. Bursting onto the street, I flagged down a passing car. My voice, a ragged chorus of sobs and pleas, spilled out as I explained my ordeal to the bewildered driver, a kind-faced woman with worried eyes. She wasted no time, dialing 911 and speeding towards the police station, my words a frantic blur in her ears. The police arrived like a whirlwind. Heavily armed officers swarmed the school, the flashing lights painting an unnerving picture against the darkening sky. They questioned me, my words tumbling over each other in a desperate attempt to convey the horror I had witnessed. The news spread like wildfire. Parents, their faces etched with terror, flooded the schoolyard, demanding answers. The familiar chatter of dismissal had morphed into a cacophony of fear and outrage. Hours bled into the night. The police searched the school, their flashlights combing the deserted corridors and classrooms. Finally, a grim-faced officer emerged from the basement. "We found him," he said, his voice tight. But his eyes flickered towards me. "There's no sign of Sarah." Hope, the fragile flame I had clung to, extinguished. The man, a groundskeeper with a history of petty theft, remained silent, offering no clues about Sarah's whereabouts. The following days were a blur of police interviews, tearful apologies from the principal, and the suffocating cloak of grief that settled over my family. Missing person posters plastered Sarah's smiling face on every lamppost, a constant reminder of the gaping hole left in our lives. Days turned into weeks, then months. The initial frenzy died down, replaced by a gnawing emptiness. Sarah's name became a painful whisper, a constant reminder of my helplessness. One day, a detective visited my house. His face held a weary sadness that mirrored my own. "We found something," he said, his voice low. "It wasn't much, but—" He trailed off, his eyes filled with a deep-seated regret. He produced a single hair, a fiery red unlike anything in my family. It was Sarah's. It wasn't enough. It wasn't closure, but it was a chilling confirmation of my worst fears. The case went cold. Sarah became another statistic, another face lost in the abyss. But for me, the memory remained, a festering wound that refused to heal. The school, once a symbol of carefree childhood, became a monument to lost innocence. I couldn't return, the hallways echoing with the ghosts of what might have been. Years passed, filled with a dull ache that never completely faded. Then, one evening, a news report sent a jolt through my system. A familiar name flashed across the screen. Mr. Davis. He had been arrested again, this time for attempted abduction. The details were chillingly similar to my experience. Another young girl, another dark basement, but this time, there was a twist. The girl had escaped. Her testimony, a mirror image of my own, finally broke the case. Mr. Davis confessed, not to Sarah's disappearance, but to a string of similar attempts. He revealed a network of tunnels beneath the school, a secret passageway to a monstrous world hidden beneath the veneer of normality. The search for Sarah resumed, fueled by renewed hope and a sickening dread. The tunnels were meticulously combed, each dead end a fresh blow. Finally, after years of agonizing uncertainty, they found her, not alive, but whole, preserved in a state of suspended animation within a hidden chamber. The technology responsible remained a mystery, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface. But Sarah was back. The reunion was bittersweet. She emerged from the ordeal a stranger, her childhood stolen by a monster in the shadows. The vibrant, joyful girl I knew was gone, replaced by a haunted shell. As for me, the experience irrevocably altered my life. The world I once knew, a place of carefree innocence, was shattered. But it also forged an unwavering determination within me, a resolve to never let fear silence my voice, to never allow the darkness to win. Sarah's story may have ended in a fragile semblance of normalcy, but it became a cautionary tale, a whisper in the wind reminding us that even in the familiar, monsters can lurk. And sometimes, the most terrifying stories are the ones written in horrifying reality. The air crackled with nervous excitement as the final bell of senior year shrieked through the halls of Westbridge High. Freedom, liberation, no more textbooks, pop quizzes, or the stifling pressure of college applications. It was a day for celebration, etched in the minds of every graduating senior. But for me, it was the beginning of a nightmare I never could have imagined. My best friend, Maya, and I had planned the perfect escape. Ditch the post-graduation ceremony, ditch the suffocating expectations of our families, and hit the open road. We'd saved enough money from summer jobs to rent a beat-up convertible and chart a course across the state lines, chasing adventure before the harsh realities of adulthood set in. As the crowd dispersed, I scanned the parking lot for Maya's bright yellow Volkswagen Buck. It was nowhere to be seen. A flicker of worry sparked in my gut. Maya was always punctual, almost neurotic about time. I tried calling her, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Minutes bled into an eternity. Panic started to gnaw at the edges of my composure. Just then, a beat-up pickup truck I didn't recognize pulled up beside me. The driver, a man with greasy hair clinging to a bald spot and a smile that didn't reach his eyes, rolled down the window. "Hey, aren't you Emily?" he rasped, his voice laced with a hint of familiarity. My stomach lurched. He wasn't anyone I recognized from school. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Mr. Henderson," he replied, flashing another unsettling smile. "Maya's dad. Car trouble, you see. Couldn't reach her phone. Needed a ride for the both of you." Relief washed over me momentarily. "Oh, thank goodness. I was starting to worry." "Hop in," he gestured, the smile widening unnaturally. Something about him set off alarm bells, a gut feeling I couldn't ignore. But Maya was in trouble, and I couldn't just leave her stranded. With a deep breath, I climbed into the passenger seat. The stench of stale beer and cigarette smoke hit me like a fist. The truck rumbled to life, heading in the opposite direction of our planned route. "Isn't this the wrong way?" I ventured, my voice strained. "Shortcut," he grunted, never taking his eyes off the road. The further we drove, the more isolated the landscape became. Rolling farmlands gave way to dense, uncharted forests. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in a menacing tapestry of orange and purple. "Where exactly are we going?" I asked again, my voice trembling slightly. "Surprise," he mumbled, his smile twisting into a sinister leer. Suddenly, the truck lurched to a halt on a deserted dirt road. Panic clawed at my throat as Mr. Henderson turned towards me, his bloodshot eyes glinting with a predatory gleam. "You see, Emily," he rasped, his voice dripping with malice. "Maya isn't who you think she is. We had a little arrangement." The truth hit me like a sucker punch. Maya wasn't in trouble. She was part of it. He lunged forward, grabbing my arm with a vice grip. "Now, let's have some fun, shall we?" The following days were a blur of terror and despair. Mr. Henderson kept me captive in a ramshackle cabin deep within the woods. Maya, her eyes filled with a chilling emptiness, stood by as he subjected me to his twisted games. Sleep was a luxury I didn't have. Each passing hour chipped away at my sanity, but I refused to give up. I clung to the embers of hope, a desperate yearning for freedom. My chance came one stormy night. As Mr. Henderson passed out drunk, Maya, uncharacteristically quiet, helped me escape. We ran through the dense woods, the rain lashing mercilessly against our faces. The storm masked our escape, but it also blurred our path. Exhausted and disoriented, we stumbled upon a deserted gas station. a beacon of salvation in the desolate landscape. The phone line was dead, but a lone state trooper car sat parked outside. My heart pounded with a chaotic rhythm as I pounded on the window. The trooper, a middle-aged woman with a kind, weathered face, opened the door. Relief washed over me in a tidal wave. The following days were a whirlwind of police interviews, medical examinations, and the agonizing process of piecing together fragments of a nightmare. Mr. Henderson was apprehended, his motives a grotesque cocktail of resentment and power. Maya, however, remained an enigma. She was released into her parents' care, but the girl I once knew was gone. The spark that lit her fire, the mischievous glint in her eyes, seemed extinguished. The police suspected a deeper involvement, but Maya wouldn't talk. She retreated into a shell of silence, a ghost haunting the ruins of our friendship. Graduation, a day I had once dreamt of with such anticipation, passed in a haze. My classmates, faces etched with a mix of relief and unease, celebrated a future I no longer felt a part of. The scars, both physical and emotional, ran deep. The weeks that followed were a desperate struggle to regain some semblance of normalcy. But the trauma clung to me like a shroud. Every creak of the floorboards, every unexpected knock on the door, sent chills down my spine. One day, a worn envelope arrived, addressed in Maya's familiar, loopy handwriting. Inside was a single photograph. It was us, taken on the very first day of senior year, our faces beaming with youthful optimism. On the back, scrawled in shaky handwriting, were just 3 words, "I'm so sorry." Tears welled up in my eyes. It wasn't an explanation, not even close, but it was the closest thing to an apology I would ever get. Years passed. I moved away from Westbridge, built a life for myself, a life where the events of that horrific summer became a chilling memory. I graduated college, built a career, and even found love. But Maya's face continued to haunt my dreams, a constant reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most familiar relationships. Then, one evening, a news bulletin sent a jolt through me. A local farmer had stumbled upon a hidden bunker deep within the woods, a nightmarish chamber filled with disturbing paraphernalia. The report mentioned a single name, Mr. Henderson. But what truly sent shivers down my spine was the mention of a second set of fingerprints, Maya's. The authorities speculated Mr. Henderson may have had an accomplice, someone who helped him lure his victims. But the truth remained shrouded in mystery. Was Maya a victim or a participant? The question gnawed at me, a festering wound that refused to heal. News reports dried up, the case relegated to an unsolved mystery. But for me, the last day of school wasn't just the end of an era. It was the beginning of a chilling truth. It was a stark reminder that sometimes, the monsters we fear aren't always lurking in the shadows. Sometimes, they wear the familiar faces of the people we trust the most. The rhythmic squeak of the bus brakes signaled the end of another school year. I, Ethan, a scrawny freshman with a backpack overflowing with textbooks, shuffled off with the throng of teenagers, eager for the freedom of summer. But unlike the others, my heart hammered with a different kind of anticipation. Today was the day I'd finally meet my online pen pal, Alex. For months, Alex had been a beacon of light in my otherwise monotonous life. We connected through a gaming forum, bonding over our shared love for obscure retro games and a mutual disdain for high school politics. Alex, however, lived in a remote part of the state, making meeting up a distant dream. Until today, he'd messaged me earlier, suggesting we meet at the abandoned amusement park on the outskirts of town, a place shrouded in local lore about accidents and ghostly sightings. While apprehensive, the chance to finally see Alex in person outweighed the unsettling stories. Reaching the park, I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. Rust gnawed at the metal skeletons of once joyful rides, and peeling paint hung from the cracked facades of concession stands. The air hung heavy with silence, broken only by the mournful creak of a derelict Ferris wheel. Standing near the entrance, phone clutched in my hand, I scanned the desolate park. Suddenly, a message popped up, "Look up," behind the tilt-a-whirl. My heart thumped a nervous rhythm as I followed his instructions. There, perched on a dilapidated platform, sat a figure. Relief washed over me as I recognized the worn baseball cap and faded band t-shirt described in Alex's profile picture. Heaving my backpack up, I started towards him, navigating a maze of rusted guardrails and broken concrete. As I neared, however, a sense of unease settled in. The figure remained motionless, even as I called out Alex's name. Reaching the platform, I stopped short. It wasn't Alex. A gaunt man, his face obscured by a mop of greasy hair, sat hunched over, his back to me. Panic surged through me. I stammered an apology, ready to flee. "Ethan," the man rasped, his voice a gravelly croak. Finally, he turned slowly, revealing a face etched with wrinkles and a pair of vacant eyes that sent chills down my spine. "Who are you?" I stammered, voice barely above a whisper. "I am Alex," he rasped, a chilling smile twisting his lips. "But not the Alex you think." The phone slipped from my grasp, clattering on the metal platform. My mind raced, searching for an explanation. Was this some elaborate prank? A cruel joke gone too far? "You see, Ethan," he continued, his voice laced with a disturbing glee. "We connected over a shared interest. A game, you could say." He gestured towards the dilapidated park. "This is the game board. And you, my dear Ethan, are the newest player." The rusted machinery, the eerie silence. It all started to make a horrifying sense. The stories, the warnings, they weren't just local legends. This game Alex spoke of was deadly. Suddenly, a shrill scream pierced the air, slicing through the oppressive silence. It came from the dilapidated funhouse at the far end of the park. "Seems your friend is already playing," the man chuckled, a dark amusement dancing in his eyes. "Do you want to save her?" He gestured towards a rusty hatch beneath the platform, hinting at a twisted challenge waiting within the bowels of the park. Fear threatened to consume me, but a surge of determination flickered within. Whether this was some deranged roleplay or a terrifying reality, I wouldn't let an innocent girl become another victim. Steeling my nerves, I gritted my teeth and lifted the hatch cover. A foul odor wafted up, and the faint glow of moonlight revealed a network of rickety tunnels leading into darkness. "The game awaits," the man rasped, his voice echoing with a macabre pleasure. With a deep breath, I gripped my backpack strapped tighter, a sense of desperate courage rising within. I knew not what awaited me in those dark tunnels, but I wouldn't let fear or this twisted game break me. I would face the dark, not for myself, but for someone I didn't even know. This wouldn't be the end of a school year. It would be the beginning of a fight for survival, a fight against the darkness that lurked within a seemingly harmless online connection. Rain lashed against the grimy bus window, blurring the world outside. Inside, a stifling silence hung heavy, punctuated only by the rhythmic drumming of raindrops on the roof. Unlike the usual chatter of excited teenagers celebrating the end of junior year, a somber mood clouded the air. The news of Miss Flores, the beloved history teacher, disappearing a week prior, had cast a long shadow over the school. Maya, sat huddled in my seat, gnawing on my bottom lip. Miss Flores had gone missing during a camping trip with the history club, a group I desperately wanted to join but couldn't due to a prior commitment. The guilt gnawed at me. Maybe if I'd been there, I could have prevented it. As the bus rumbled to a halt at my stop, a flash of lightning illuminated a weathered flyer plastered on the lamppost. It was a missing person report, Miss Flores' face staring back at me with a frozen smile. Below, a chilling sentence, last seen entering Blackwood Forest. Blackwood Forest, a place shrouded in local lore, whispered about only in hushed tones. Stories of disappearing hikers, distorted screams echoing through the dense woods, and an unnerving silence at its heart. Yet, looking at the flyer, a morbid curiosity ignited within me. Instead of heading home, I followed the muddy trail leading into the forest, the rain drumming a relentless rhythm on the thick canopy of leaves. The air grew heavy with an unsettling stillness, broken only by the dripping of rainwater and the occasional snap of a twig underfoot. The deeper I ventured, the more oppressive the atmosphere became, a feeling of being watched settling in my gut. Suddenly, a faint melody drifted through the trees. A haunting tune played on a rustic flute. Drawn to the sound, I pushed through the undergrowth, emerging into a small clearing. In the center stood a lone figure, cloaked in a dark, tattered robe, playing the flute with a mournful air. As I stepped closer, the figure turned, revealing a wizened face etched with deep wrinkles. Her piercing blue eyes seemed to bore into my soul. "Lost? Child?" her voice rasped, like leaves rustling in the wind. I hesitated, then stammered, "I'm looking for Miss Flores. Did you see her?" The woman's lips curled into a knowing smile. "Perhaps, but some things are best left undisturbed." Fear prickled my skin. "What do you mean?" She chuckled, a dry, hollow sound. "Blackwood Forest has a way of collecting secrets, child. It takes those who wander too far." A tremor of dread ran through me. Turning, I started to retrace my steps, but the path seemed to have vanished. Panic surged as I realized I was lost, trapped in the heart of this unsettling place. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, menacing shadows, the temperature plummeted. The mournful flute melody continued, echoing through the trees, seeming to beckon me deeper into the woods. Then, I saw it, a glint of light amidst the dense foliage. Hope rekindled. I scrambled towards it, emerging into another clearing. A small, dilapidated cabin stood nestled amongst the trees, smoke curling from its chimney. Taking a deep breath, I approached the cabin, hesitantly knocking on the weathered door. It creaked open, revealing a cramped interior lit by a flickering oil lamp. Miss Flores sat hunched over a dusty table, poring over a leather-bound book. Relief washed over me, momentarily erasing the chilling atmosphere. "Miss Flores, I'm so glad I found you. Everyone's worried sick." She looked up, her face pale and drawn. "Maya," she whispered, her voice hoarse, "you shouldn't be here." Before I could ask why, the cloaked woman from the clearing materialized at the doorway, a predatory grin twisting her features. "Lost, are we?" she rasped, her eyes flashing with a malevolent glee. "This forest isn't meant for wanderers, child. It claims those who seek answers they shouldn't." A horrifying realization dawned on me. Miss Flores wasn't lost. She was hiding from this woman and whatever secrets lay hidden within the confines of Blackwood Forest. Suddenly, the cabin door slammed shut, plunging us into darkness. Miss Flores fumbled with a hidden latch, unlocking a trapdoor in the floor. "This way," she hissed, grabbing my hand and dragging me through the opening. We descended into a dark, dank tunnel, the air thick with the smell of mildew and earth. The tunnel twisted and turned, leading us deeper into the heart of Blackwood Forest. Finally, we emerged into a vast cavern, its walls adorned with ancient symbols that pulsed with an eerie luminescence. In the center stood a towering stone monolith, its surface etched with intricate carvings that seemed to writhe and pulsate in the dim light. Miss Flores' grip tightened on my hand. "This is the heart of the forest's power," she whispered, her voice trembling. "A place where time bends and secrets are kept." Before I could question her further, the cloaked woman materialized behind us, her eyes gleaming with a malevolent hunger. "So, the little bird has brought a friend," she cackled, her voice echoing through the cavern. Miss Flores shoved me towards the monolith. "Touch it, Maya. It will protect you." Doubt gnawed at me, but desperation fueled my actions. I reached out and placed my hand on the cold, rough surface. A jolt of energy surged through me, the symbols on the monolith swirling before my eyes. The air crackled with a strange energy, and the ground trembled beneath our feet. The cloaked woman shrieked in fury. "You dare interfere with the forest's will?" Tendrils of dark energy erupted from the symbols on the walls, forming a swirling vortex that enveloped the woman. She screamed, her form contorting in agony as the vortex dragged her deeper into the darkness. Exhausted but exhilarated, I stumbled back from the monolith. Miss Flores collapsed beside me, gasping for breath. "What was that?" I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. "The forest protects its secrets," she rasped, "but at a cost. This place, it corrupts those who linger too long." A wave of dizziness washed over me. The symbols on the walls seemed to blur, and the air grew thick with a suffocating darkness. "We need to get out of here," Miss Flores croaked, her voice fading. But the darkness was closing in, swallowing us whole. The last thing I remembered was a blinding flash of light, followed by an overwhelming sense of peace. When I awoke, I was in a hospital bed, a bright light casting harsh shadows across the sterile room. My parents sat beside me, their faces etched with worry. Miss Flores sat in a chair by the window, a bandage wrapped around her head. They told me I'd been found unconscious at the edge of Blackwood Forest, rambling about a woman and strange lights. The search party had dismissed it as trauma, but Miss Flores, hesitant at first, eventually corroborated my story. Blackwood Forest was declared off-limits, and the disappearance of the cloaked woman remained an unsolved mystery. Miss Flores never returned to teaching, claiming health reasons, but I knew the truth. We had both glimpsed the secrets of the forest, and the experience left an indelible mark on both of us. The memory of the pulsating symbols, the chilling laughter of the cloaked woman, and the overwhelming darkness of the cavern lingered long after I left the hospital. It served as a constant reminder of the power and danger that lurked beneath the surface of our seemingly ordinary world. The last day of school was supposed to be a celebration of freedom, but it became the day my world shifted, the day I discovered a chilling secret hidden in the heart of Blackwood Forest, a secret that would forever bind me to its haunting legacy.